We do this every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm here to answer all of your training and behavior questions. And about 7:30-ish, if we go that long, I will do a drawing. So as you log on, or as you get on, make sure that you give me your name and your state or country, because all I see is Facebook users. So if you could just give me your full name and what state or country you live in, then I'll be writing down names and we'll do a drawing. And then if we have enough people that still have questions, I'm happy to stay until 8 o'clock and answer those as well. So how's everybody's week been while we're waiting for people to get on? It's been a really busy week. We're doing some filming tomorrow with Pupford for a new thing that hopefully it'll take a while, but hopefully it'll be a really good resource for you guys. So really excited about that. Hi, Julie. Let me write you down. Julie. Kathy, I will actually see you tomorrow. So Kathy lives in Utah. I'm from Utah, and I'm going to be down doing some things for Pupford. So I'm going to stop and work with Kathy and Charlotte a little bit. I'm so excited. You guys should see. Charlotte is the cutest thing. Okay, so I'm excited for that. Emily, hi Emily. I know where Emily's from. I know where Julie's from. So you guys that get on all the time, I just know. Catherine, welcome from DC. So while everybody's jumping on, I'm just going to write down names. And then, oh, New Zealand. Isn't it like middle of the night there for you guys? Or early in the morning? That is dedication. Although, I will tell you that I do not sleep well. So, if I was not doing the live, I would be like on a live listening just because I don't sleep well anyway. So, okay, Deb from Maryland. And then Rochelle, if you could tell me where you're from, Rochelle Gibson, then I can enter you in the drawing as well. Oh, it's 2:10 p.m. Oh, okay. Who was it? Oh, it was somebody last week from Ireland, and it was like 3 a.m. But it's probably next day, right, in New Zealand? Okay, no, this doesn't want to scroll up. Okay, so I got Catherine. Okay, Deb. Deb, I'm not even going to try to say your last name, but I'll make sure I spell it right. So if you win, I can let them know. Oh, yeah, it's Thursday, so it's like tomorrow for us because it's Wednesday here. Oh, Emily, I have to share my accomplishment with you. Taught Raven how to hold, and now she can hold screwdrivers, hats, bag, leashes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're ahead of me because I'm still. So I've been kind of working with Emily via Messenger and Zoom. I'm training a service dog, and she's teaching Raven how to like pick things up. And I've taught 2 dogs how to do it. And this current dog that I'm trying to teach, she would just like pick it up and spit it out. Right. And so I couldn't get her to pick it up and hold. So we started with a tennis ball and taught her the pick it up and then drop it into my hand. And it worked great with a tennis ball. And then I have this little keychain fob thing that we've been practicing with. So, but in all honesty, I've not been practicing much with her because I've been so busy. So Emily, you're ahead of me, but good job on that. Oh my gosh. And doing hard things, like screwdrivers, keys, things that are metal are harder. So, yeah, good job. That's awesome. Okay. So we have, a question. You've talked about barking issues before, and you've said ignore in crate and also teach them quiet. I started teaching my puppy quiet, and he's starting to learn quiet, but I think he now sometimes will bark to then be told quiet to get a treat. Yeah, so that's one thing you have to be careful with. And my dog Jade does that she did that as well when I taught her quiet. And all my dogs know a quiet cue. When I'm teaching it at first, I do reward in the beginning to teach them the quiet. And then it's like, oh, good quiet treat. But then they'll bark to be told quiet and then get a treat. So if that starts to happen, then I don't give a treat every time. Sometimes I'll just use praise. Sometimes I'll just pet them and say, oh, good dog, good girl, good boy, like, whatever. So if they're barking at something, and you tell them quiet and they do it, then you can go ahead and treat. But if they just start barking at nothing to be told quiet to get the treat, then I would reward them and say, oh, good quiet, thank you, good job, but don't treat. So that they kind of learn that that's not what it's about, and that's not going to work. So does that make sense? And I'm sorry if you can hear, Jade is in the back entertaining herself, chewing on a bone. Oh, she's chewing on a Nyla bone thing. She was out with the rest of the people that work in the same building, and this little girl walked in, and Jade went up to say hi, and the girl got scared and fell over. So Jade's back in here with me now. So anyway, so yeah, that will also happen with off. So if you teach a dog off, sometimes they'll jump up just to be told off, thinking that they're going to get a treat. So initially, yes, I lure with a treat to teach them the off, but then once I know that they can do it, then if they jump up on purpose, thinking, oh, now she'll tell me off and I'll get a treat, I don't. I'll just say, oh, good off, good job. And I just praise, pet, give them that kind of reinforcer without giving them the actual treat. Is it better to do quiet when not in the crate and then ignore in the crate? And it kind of depends on the circumstances. So let's say if I have a puppy who's just barking in the crate because they want out, I will usually ignore. If I have a dog in a crate and I'm on the phone or I'm on a Zoom and they're barking, then I will do a quiet and reward. But for the most part, yes, I use quiet more when they bark at the door or if they're outside barking at somebody walking by. I do let them bark once to let me know that something's going on outside. And then I say, okay, got it, now quiet. And then if they're not quiet, they have to come in. But yes, for the most part, I ignore in the crate, and then I teach quiet for other things. Now, that being said, I have a board and train with me right now who is 7 months old, and she does, in the beginning, it took her about 4 days to kind of settle in and get used to our routine. And so at night she would bark and cry and whine. And I know she doesn't have separation anxiety because she didn't in her own house, and that wasn't what we were working on. So there were a few times when I came down and I did tell her quiet because we needed to sleep. So in the crate, I did give her a quiet cue. I did give her a little something to chew on, and then good quiet, and then went back to bed. So So yeah, sometimes with the crate, I will. More so with an older dog that I know is already crate trained and doesn't have separation anxiety, and they're just being obnoxious, then yes, I will say quiet in the crate. Okay, Julie, in 2 weeks, Dakota will be getting spayed. What's the best way to keep her occupied so she's not running around? I do have puzzle toys. Yeah, so just leash walks. Oh, and she just got a sheep horn. Perfect. You know what? I bought my dogs I actually got it for him for Christmas. So for Christmas, my dog got Pupford yak chews and the turbo tendons, but I also happened to be in Petco because we were practicing with Jade for her service dog testing. And so I bought them the cow hooves or the horse hooves things that they love to chew on. I got them those, and my gosh, those things last forever. Now you couldn't do that with a puppy, but for an adult dog that have hard teeth, those things last forever, and they loved them. So yeah, the sheep horn will be good. A snuffle mat, the puzzle toys. You can also do things like hide treats around your house, and then just tell your dog to go hunt, because she's not going to be running a ton just inside the house. So, just letting her go hunt for treats that are hidden behind chairs or in cushions or whatever, playing the go hunt game. Anything that stimulates the dog's brain and nose is going to also tire them out. You can also do the cardboard box thing that I kind of have talked about before, where at the rescue we used to save like cereal and cracker boxes. Let's see if I have something I can use. So this is actually a box of shoes that I bought off my friend because they didn't fit her. But let's pretend like this is a cereal box or cracker box, or you could even use something like this. And what we would do is we would smear the inside with peanut butter and toss in some kibble and treats, and then tape this closed. And then this already has holes. I forget this is backwards. This already has holes in it, but like with cereal boxes, we would punch holes in with a fork. So the dog can smell the peanut butter, they can hear the treats, they can smell the treats or the kibble. And then we give it to them and let them tear it apart, because dogs love to tear cardboard. It is kind of messy. You could do it outside, but it's really enriching. They get to tear something apart, get the treats and kibble out of the middle, lick the peanut butter out, and then you just clean up the cardboard and throw it away. Never had a dog actually try to eat the cardboard, so I don't think you have to worry about that. And they don't eat the tape. But yeah, and you can do leash walks and just do like easy walks. Like that's fine too. So, and then, yeah, a lot of enrichment. The other one that you can do is with this kind of water bottle, only empty. I use these because dogs love to chew on, because they're crunchy. And I will throw in some kibble and treats in here and then poke holes with fork or knife, just big enough for like one treat at a time to come out, and then give it to the dog. So they love to crunch on these. They can roll them around, figure out how to get the stuff inside. And this is a really good, cheap way to do an enrichment toy without having to spend money. And you're going to, buy water bottles anyway. So, and then you can just recycle it when you're done. So that's another thing that you can do. Okay, Veronica, let me write your name down for the drawing, and then I will answer your question. Montana. I love Montana. So pretty. I actually have visited Bozeman once, and love Montana, but I love anything with mountains. Okay, so I'm starting crate training with my 9-week-old golden doodle. He barks for an hour or more. How do I determine if he needs to go potty or should I ignore? Can I leave him there regardless for 2 or 3 hours and then ask to be quiet and take potty? So, so when I do crate training, before I leave a dog in the crate for 2 or 3 hours, I will take them out potty first. So like, just as an example, let's say that you're going to do it at night before you go to bed, or, if you have to leave during the day for 2 or 3 hours, take the dog out, make sure that they've peed and pooped. And then when they need to go in, that if they're barking, it's just because they want out. It's not because they need to go potty. Usually, so the dog that I have with me right now, she will start to whine and bark about 6:37 in the morning. And so then I know, okay, she's got to go potty, because now that she knows quiet and she knows to be quiet at night in her crate, now she is quiet. And all she does, so she sleeps through the night, and then about 6:37 she'll whine. So then I'll get up and take her out to go potty. So yeah, you don't want to leave them in there for too long, especially a 9-week-old, because 9-week-olds, they can't really hold it yet. And we don't want the puppy to get used to going in the crate. Most dogs won't potty where they sleep or eat or have their bed. But once a dog does, then they get used to that, which is why it's really hard to potty and crate train puppy mill dogs, because that's how they've lived their life, is, laying and living in their own pee and poop. So, and the longer you'll be able to tell the difference between a whine or a bark, just meaning I want out. That one tends to be more vocal, like I want to be with you, let me out, let me out. And that I will tend to ignore. When they need to go potty, it's more of a whine. So like the dog that I have with me right now, I would she'll do more of a whine, and it's more of an uncomfortable, like, oh, please, I really need to go to the bathroom. So it kind of sounds different too. With most of the dogs that I've crate trained and had sleep in a crate, I can tell when it's, I really need to go potty, versus like when we go to bed, she might spend 5 minutes like barking and kind of doing a howling thing because we left her in the crate and we all went upstairs to bed, but then she's quiet. But then in the morning when she needs to go potty, it's more of a whine. And it might not be that way with every dog, but once your dog's gone potty, then yes, you can put him in the crate and leave him for 2 or 3 hours. And then if they're like barking for attention or barking because they want out, then yeah, you can ask them to be quiet. And honestly, with potty, if they need to go potty and they're whining, I usually don't always wait for them to be quiet, because I don't want them to have an accident in their crate. But if you say, oh, do you need to go potty? Do you need to go out and go potty? A lot of times they'll be quiet for a second because you're giving them attention. And so then they are quiet, so you can open the crate and let them out and take them potty. So you can kind of do that too. Like, talk to them. Like my board and train, if, as soon as she sees me and I say, oh, do you need to go out and go potty? She's quiet, because then she sees me and it's like, oh, I'm giving her attention. So then she stops, I take her out and go potty, and she goes. So yeah, you don't really have to worry about teaching the quiet when they have to go potty, because most of the time, if you give them attention, then they're going to be quiet, because it's like, oh, good, I'm finally getting out, and then you can immediately take them out. Okay, Kimberly, how do you get a dog to come when called better? Oh, great question. Kimberly, where are you from? And I will enter you in the drawing too. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how I teach recall. it's funny. I go to people's houses every day, and I do work a lot with aggressive dogs and reactive dogs, but I also have a lot of puppy clients. And I think just because I've done this for so long, when owners call their puppies and they're like, Rover, come, and the dog's totally ignoring them because they're sniffing and they're like, come, come. I say, okay. And usually I don't teach recall until like the third session. And so I have to kind of deviate from my agenda kind of thing. And we start working on recall. And the reason is because I don't want the cue come to be poisoned. We call it poisoned. And what that means is that you're saying like, come, 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 and the dog's ignoring you. So what I do is I don't say COME until I know that the dog is 100, or unless I know I'm 100% sure the dog's going to come. So if one of my dogs is running towards me anyway, then I'll say, like, Jade, come, good, come. And I'll even, like, if I have my clicker, I'll click and mark it, like mark her coming. But when I teach it, I always start with a 6-foot leash, and I teach it on leash, so that if the dog doesn't come, and I only say it once because I don't want to have to say it 3 and 4 times, because then the dog will learn, oh, I don't have to come until I hear it 4 times. So when I teach it, a lot of times I'll toss a treat out away from the dog to get the dog to turn away from me. And then I'll say, Rover, come. And then I'll give them a second to do it. And if they turn right to me and start coming, I click. And then I'll kind of run backwards, and because I want the recall to be the most exciting thing in their environment. Especially up where we live, we have a lot of wildlife, lots of distractions, a lot of things for dogs to be distracted. So I'll run backwards and be like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, go boy, go boy, go boy. And then treat them when they get to me. If they don't come immediately, then I have the leash and I can start to reel it in. So I have Jade's kind of leash. I couldn't find her regular leash. So if this is attached to Jade and I call her and she doesn't come, then I'll start to reel her in. And I'll kind of run backwards as I do it and do a lot of, I know that's your leash, but we're not going anywhere yet. Go lay back down. I'll kind of run backwards and make it really fun and reel them in and then give them the treat when they get to me. So I start with a 6-foot leash, and then when they have a really good recall, then I'll go to a 15-foot leash and give them more freedom. And I'll let them sniff around and explore, and then I'll do the recall. And if they immediately turn, man, I click, and like the whole time they're running towards me, I'm like making it super fun, super exciting. Sometimes I act like a lunatic, but the dogs think that it's fun, and then treat when they get to me. And then I might do a 30-foot leash. And then sometimes I will have them drag a leash. So I'll give them a little bit more freedom, but then if they don't come, I can pick up the leash and still reel them in to reinforce it. Because if you think about it, every time you say COME to your dog, and the reason I'm kind of spelling it is because Jade's here. Every time you say that to your dog and they don't come and get reinforced or treated for that, they're actually getting reinforced for ignoring you, because they hear the word COME, but they're like, oh, I'm sniffing, I'm doing my own thing. And they're kind of self-rewarding, like they're getting rewarded for ignoring you. So that's why I always do it on leash. And then before I trust a dog off leash, then I might go to like an enclosed tennis court or a dog park when there's no dogs in it. And practice in an enclosed area and practice recall. And another thing that I do is I will call the dog, give him a treat, and then say, okay, go play. So to the dog, it's like, oh, I come, I get a treat, and then I get to go play again. You want to be really careful not to have recall ever be negative. And I will use myself as a bad example. And I knew better. But when I first got Jade, she's a fence jumper. So when I was gone and she didn't go with me, I had to crate her. So I would say, Jade, come here. And then she would come to me and I'd put her in her crate. Well, she learned that in the house, if I say, Jade, come here, that she was going in a crate. So she stopped coming to me because she knew, I'm not going to come to you. You're going to put me in my crate. So I had to kind of start all over with her. So if you're going to do something the dog doesn't like, such as get crated, get their nails done, get a bath, go to the vet, leave the dog park, it's better to just go get them. So I had a client call me once and said, my dog was coming so well and now he won't come. And I said, well, explain to me what was happening like right before he stopped coming. Well, they were at the dog park. He called his dog, put the leash on, and they left. So the next day he called the dog. The dog didn't come because it's like, well, yesterday we left and I don't want to leave, so I'm not going to come to you. So sometimes it is better to just go get them if it's going to be something the dog doesn't like. I also play the hide and seek game. So when we're hiking off leash, if my dogs are running around sniffing and sniffing squirrels and whatever else, if I'm not 100% sure they're going to come, I don't use COME. I will whistle, and my dogs are actually pretty good about coming to a whistle. So I'll whistle or I'll say, let's go over here this way. And sometimes I'll turn and act like I'm leaving, or I'll duck behind to play the hide and seek game. And I'll say, hey, find me. And then they think it's a game and they'll come find me. And then they get praise and treats. And then I'll say, okay, go play. So sometimes, yes, they do come and I put a leash on them, but I don't want them to think that coming is going to take away their fun. So a lot of times I will call them, give them a good reward, and then send them on their way again to play. And then if there's other people or other dogs, then I'll call them, put them on a leash, and then when we pass, they get their off-leash privilege again. So that's kind of how I do it. And honestly, I take like a good year to before I trust my dogs with a really good off-leash recall. Now, that being said, since I do this all day, every day, I don't work with my own dogs as much as I should. So it probably won't take you a year, but that's just kind of me working with my own dogs when I have time. Jade goes to puppy classes with me. She's my demo dog. So she knows that when we're in class and we're in a certain place, come means come. And she does it, and she does it perfect. But then if we're up in the mountains and we're hiking or doing something like that, and, then there's more distractions. And again, you've probably heard me say dogs don't generalize. So, in fact, Pupford just posted a little video with another trainer about getting your dog to generalize. And the reason can do things really well at home, but they don't do it in puppy class because they don't generalize. So when I'm in a new area and I'm teaching recall, then let's say that my dog has a really good recall in the backyard. We're going to go up and go hiking. I might put them on a 15 or a 30-foot leash so I can reinforce it. And I will take higher value treats. So I'll take like salmon treats, I'll take bacon, I'll take hot dogs, something that they don't normally get. So they learn, oh, I get hot dogs, and then I get to go play again. So that's kind of how I do it. I go through that whole process before I really trust them off leash. Also, you don't ever want to call your dog and then get mad at them. So let's say, okay, I'll just use Jade as an example. So she's a fence jumper. She hasn't in a long time. We've really been working on it. But all of a sudden I noticed, okay, Jade's gone. And my cousin who's living with me now was moving some stuff in and left the door open. And so she ran out and she was up the street. And when we called her, she did come. And so I was really careful not to get mad at her for taking off. Even though it scared me to death because I live on a highway and she could have gotten hit, she still came to me. And so I praised the heck out of her. So let's say that your dog takes off and chases a deer, which I've had previous dogs, I've had a couple do that. And one was gone for like 45 minutes and I was livid. If he would have finally come back, if I would have reprimanded him, then he would be like, I'm just doing what dogs do. And I came and you got mad, so I'm not going to come again. So sometimes if you're like really upset because your dog took off and you had to chase them, and they were gone for half an hour, sometimes my recall, when they finally come, it sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad at you. I could strangle you right now. And I might even be using explicitives because I'm like scared to death that my dog's run off or is going to get hit or something. But I do it in my happy voice. So I'm venting, but my dog thinks that she's the best dog ever. But even if your dog takes off and if they finally come back, you have to praise them. You can cuss them out. You can do whatever you want. Just do it in your happy voice. Now, if they take off and I have to go get them, then I'll usually just say, oh, bad dog. That is not okay. And then they get leashed up and they lose their off-leash privilege. So that's kind of how I do it. But when I am first teaching come, a lot of times I'll play hide and seek and play the like, come find me. So then when we're hiking, I'll duck behind a bush or behind a tree and say, come find me. So it's like this really fun game. So lastly, just so I don't belabor this too much, one other thing I've done with dogs that are off leash, sometimes I'll get down on the ground and I'll be like, oh my gosh, look what I just found. And I'll dig and I'll pretend like I found something that I'm digging. And every single time my dogs will come up to see, oh my gosh, what does mom have? What has mom found? And then I'll kind of like just play with them for a second and then kind of reach over and put their leash on if they need to be leashed. So that's a good way too, to get them to come. So that was kind of a long answer, but hopefully that answered your question. It is always a work in progress. And just remember that the more distracting the environment, sometimes you have to start over, like not all the way over, but if you're in a brand new environment, maybe put on a 15-foot leash and see if your dog's going to come, and then maybe have them drag a leash. And always when I go hiking and I know that there's going to be distractions, I always carry high value treats with me just so I have them to reinforce. Okay. Emily, I'm sure I've asked this before, but I've forgotten. Raven gets anxious to play outside. We've tried treats in a Kong, squeaky toys, other toys. Only done this in the backyard. She just stands there looking at me. Any way I can get her more comfortable. She'll also sometimes, very rarely, run after the ball when I throw it, but just runs to it and won't pick it up and bring it back. She plays fine in the house. She'll also jump over obstacles if I put them in a line with things on both sides to prevent her from running past them. Tried adding a ball and she won't go for that. So maybe one thing I would try is out in the yard, just to get her more comfortable in the yard, try to do some nose work. So if you have grass or dirt or bark, or like today we did it in bark, wood chips. And we played the go hunt game. So I threw a handful of salmon treats out into the bark and had the dog go hunt. And it was basically because it was a puppy and we were teaching the puppy how to walk on different surfaces. And I wanted the puppy to walk on the bark. And so we threw treats out there to kind of get the dog like on the bark and sniffing. So if you do that out in your yard, and start with something easier like go hunt or find it, and use something really smelly like hot dogs or salmon, and get your dog like engaging his nose and brain and like just sniffing for treats, that's going to kind of help Raven have this more positive association with the backyard. Like, oh, I like being in the yard because I get to play go hunt, and I get to find hot dogs, or I get to find cheese, or I get to find whatever. You can use boiled chicken, things like that. And then once she's comfortable in the yard, then you can start. And just because she plays fetch like in the house, then sometimes when you go out in the yard and it's a new area, then you have to kind of start over and just like not, just play like the, take and drop and then throw it just a little bit, go get it, bring it back. And then, so you almost start over with the fetch game. And then if you have obstacles and things, I will always lure. So at the rescue, we had like an obstacle agility course donated, and we used to take the dogs out there just for enrichment, and the dogs had no idea what to do or what it was. So I would always use treats and lure them. So I would like lure them over the jump and lure them through the tire and things like that until they learned it. So that would be my suggestion, is create a positive association through something, anything knows work, go hunt, and then build from there. Okay, Catherine. Duke, 5.5 months. He will be neutered in a month, but has started humping and thinks it's a game. Okay, so yes, with humping, I always will redirect, and I'll just say, hey, and just take him off. And then ask him to do something that's incompatible with humping, which is like a downstay. Or you could redirect him with something else. Humping is not always a sexual thing either. So he may still hump after he's been neutered. Sometimes dogs do it to try to figure out where they are in the social hierarchy in your home. And I'm not talking about like dominance, alpha, that kind of stuff, because those are the wrong terms. But if you have a dog, especially like humping kids or, and even adults, so they will hump adults as well. I always, whether it's because he's not neutered or because it's a hierarchy thing, I will always just say, hey, and then take him off, and then give him something else to do, and then reward him for doing something else. So that's what I would do. You can always like ask for a sit, ask for a down, ask for a sit, stay, down, stay, and then reward that. And then if he continues, then I would just like give him a timeout, like put him in a crate with a toy or a chewy, and let him like hang out in his crate for a minute and chew on that. Also, other favorite long-lasting chews for puppies. Yeah, so I give my dogs bully sticks, but I agree they can be expensive, especially I've got 3 big dogs. I like yak chews, and yak chews tend to last longer than bully sticks. So I use yak chews as well. Another one, a good one for puppies, I don't think I have any here, are like rope toys, because they can sink their teeth into them. If your dog's 5.5, he's probably got his permanent teeth in by now. But especially for puppies that are teething, they can really sink their teeth into those rope toys. And those work out really well too. I kind of stay away from like squeaky toys and plushy toys, just because my dogs will destroy them in less than a minute. They get the squeaker out, they're done, and then I have to clean up stuffing. So I don't even buy those anymore. But I do get things like this. This is pretty hard. It's not plastic. I'm not sure what it is, but these are, but it's soft. It's soft enough like for puppies. Whoops, backwards. But you can also stick treats in there or put peanut butter in there or something, and let the dog chew on that. And these last, I mean, I give these to my pit bulls and they last forever. And there's different ones. I had another one. Maybe I took it home. Anyway, these are called Zogoflex, and you can get them from Amazon, and they make different ones, and they're soft. You could also do like a licky mat, only freeze it. So Pupford sells the licky mats. I put peanut butter, sometimes pumpkin, cream cheese. I'll freeze it, and then it takes longer for the dog to lick it out. So you could do that as well. I'm trying to think of what else I use for puppies, but I think that's about it. You can also take like a washcloth and get it wet and freeze it. Or even sometimes just leave it wet, and the dogs can really like sink their teeth into that, and they like that. Another one that's really cheap are these. Like I talked about before, making enrichment toys out of these. Obviously, you're going to make it empty. The water's not going to be in there. But dogs love the crunch. They love to crunch on these, and they're soft. If you're not going to fill it with kibble or treats, I would take the lid off so that they can't swallow it. But then let them chew on these. Here where my office is, it's dog friendly, and several people bring their dogs to work. We always save our water bottles, and we let the dogs just chew them, and they crunch them, and then we just throw them away, or we anyway. So this is another really soft, very inexpensive toy. And if you weren't here, well, yeah, you were here for the first. So you can also toss some kibble and treats in there, poke some holes in, and let the dog roll it around and play with it to get the treats out. So, hello, Kayla. Let me write Kayla's name down. Kayla is from Arizona. I actually lived in Arizona for 2 years. I used to say that I'm not afraid of hell because I've lived in Arizona. It's very hot. And I'm kind of a mountain cold weather girl myself, but it was fun. It was a fun I probably have already told you this, but the fun thing about Arizona, where I live now, it's a very small rural community, so there's not really a lot to do. And when I lived in Arizona, it was so much fun. We used to go to the ASU Friday night dances every single week for 2 years. We went. And it was a blast. Back then, I don't know how much it is now, but it was $1. We could get in for $1. And because the weather's so nice in Arizona, it's always outside. So we had outside dances. That I miss about Arizona. Okay, Destiny. How do I stop resource guarding? My Labrador snaps at my kittens when they have something she wants. Okay, good question. Okay, so I kind of have a rule at my house where if I give my dog something like food or a bully stick or a yak chew, that is theirs and they get to enjoy it. And if a dog snaps at another dog or a cat, that's basically them saying, hey, this is mine, go away. And it's the same. And as long as your lab's like not attacking your kittens, and it's kind of good for your kittens to learn that when the lab snaps, that means I need to back away, because that's just a warning. It's the same as if you're at a restaurant and you're eating and a waiter tries to come and take your plate away before you're done, and you're grabbing it. You're like, hey, no, I'm not done yet. That's the same thing a growl is, or a snap. And as long as the lab is not hurting the kittens, really what's happening is your lab is just is just, or am I reading it backwards? Okay, my lab snaps at my kittens when they have something she wants. Okay, so if the kittens have something that the lab wants and the lab goes over and snaps at the kittens, then I would interrupt and I would separate the lab from the kittens and just be like, oh, sorry, that's theirs and that's not yours. So I do give my cat like treats and stuff. And when he, I mean, he's old, so he doesn't play with a whole lot of things. But if he has something, then the dogs are either outside or they're on the other side of a baby gate. Because I believe that if an animal has a resource, that should be theirs to enjoy and not have to worry about somebody coming and taking it. And that's the rule, whether it's a dog or a cat. So if my dogs have something, my cat is kind of an ornery old man, and sometimes he will go up and try to take something from the dogs, and then he goes in his condo or he goes in another room, and the dogs get to enjoy their resource. I would do the same thing with the kittens. If they have something, give the lab something to do. So it's like, okay, the kittens have their thing. That's theirs. Here, this is yours. You can go enjoy a bully stick or a yak chew or a stuffed Kong while the kittens have their thing. And that's what I would do. So in that situation, I would do what we call environmental management. So whenever we have resources, I am always present and I'm always managing, because I have some dogs that even though they all have the exact same thing, they'll want what the other one has. So if one dog leaves theirs and goes to try to get the other one, it's like, that's hers. You leave that alone. Here's yours. And it's always supervised. So if I can't supervise, they don't have it. So I would do the same thing with the kittens. If they have something, that's theirs. I would separate the lab or interrupt and give the lab that can be hers, that she can enjoy, and supervise and separate them. And that's kind of how I do it at my house. There is a whole protocol for resource guarding, but it kind of, if I'm reading your question right, it sounds more like the kittens already have something that the lab wants, and so the lab's going up and snapping at them. And I would just say, oh, that, sorry, that's not okay. That's theirs. Here, we're going to go over here, and this is yours, and you can enjoy this. So that's how I would handle that. Yep, I've just accepted we will have to buy $3 to $4 bully sticks constantly. I agree. I bought my dog some antlers. Surprisingly, my dogs don't really like those as well, but they love the hoofs. I don't know if it's the keratin or something in them that they love, but they love the hoofs. You could try those, and they're not. They're probably about the same price as a yak chew, but they, my dogs got theirs for Christmas, and they haven't even put a dent in them. Now, you couldn't do this with puppies that have baby teeth because they are hard, but once your dog has adult teeth, you could totally do that. Okay, Kimberly, Michigan. Let me write that down. Okay. My puppy nearly broke my wrist because I accidentally dropped his leash. Most times he usually comes, but this time he decided to run and went straight to another animal's pool that must have happened overnight, ate it, and ran away. Oh, I think that's supposed to say poop. That ran away from me for a solid 10 minutes before I could catch him. I realized I was out of shape from this, yes, join the crowd, and may not be able to always catch him. How do I make him more reliable with come when called? After I caught him, I tripped over him and thus almost breaking my bone. So dogs love the chase game. So if you chase after them, they are going to run. So that's why I turn and go the other way, and I'll just pretend like I'm leaving them. Like I'm not really leaving them, but I'll just say, okay, see ya, bye, I'm leaving you. And I'll walk away. And I've never lost a dog yet that hasn't been like, oh crap, mom's leaving, I'm going to follow her. And then I will just wait until, like I can step on the leash or pick up the leash. But yes, if you chase after a dog, they think it's a game and they're going to keep running and they're going to keep running away. So I don't chase. I just will turn and walk the other way. Or I do the thing where I get down on the ground and be like, oh my gosh, look what I found. Oh, this is so cool. And then I'll dig. And I might actually dig in the dirt. And so then the dogs will be like, oh, what did mom find? I'm going to go see what mom has. And then they will come over and then I'll just like very slowly reach over and grab them. And then the other trick with recall is to make yourself more exciting than anything else in their environment. And I know for some people that's hard. But so I'll give you a good example. I had my 3 original pit bulls used to go to work with me when I was a vet tech. And and I also ran a training program in the back. So I used them for classes and stuff. So they went to work with me. And I would let them out the back door to go potty, and they were off leash. And there's a doggy daycare right across the street. On the front side, we were on the back side. But they were kind of exploring, and they went over to the side of the building, and I saw with one of my dogs, I saw his ears go up. He was looking, and I'm like, oh crap, he sees a dog. And he's very friendly. But I didn't want him running over there and going across the parking lot to the doggy daycare where he saw the dog. And so I didn't have treats with me, but I said, Jagger, what are you doing? And I put my arms out and I was jumping up and down and waving my arms. And there's also a highway that runs parallel. And I'm not kidding. People on the highway probably thought I was a lunatic. But I was like just acting crazy, but trying to make it fun. Like, what are you doing? Let's go over here and play. And I was jumping up and down. See, even Jade came over to see what I was doing. And I'm not kidding. The dog looked at the dog, looked at me, looked at the dog again, and came running to me. And man, when he came, I'm like, oh, good boy. What a good boy. And I like poured on the praise. Let's go in and get treats. And then we ran inside, gave him a treat. And so the trick is to make yourself more exciting and make coming to you more exciting than anything else, which can be hard if it's another animal's poop. And kind of on that same line, I teach leave it. I don't teach it the same as I do come, but I do in the sense that when I ask a dog to leave it, I give them something better than what I'm asking them to leave. So if they're leaving poop, I'm probably going to have bacon with me or hot dogs or something. So if I say leave it, they know, oh my gosh, I really, really, really want to eat this deer poop. But I know if I leave it, mom's going to give me a piece of bacon. And in our house, bacon is the best thing ever. So I would do a leave it that way for the poop, and then make the recall be super exciting and fun. And I mean, even if people laugh at you and think that you're crazy, that's okay. You're getting your dog to come to you, and that's what you want. So that's what I would do. I actually, my very first pit bull, my very, very first pit bull almost broke my hand, but it was from leash pulling. He was very strong, and he saw a cow for the first time and bolted over towards that and just about broke my hand. So, yep, I've been there. And I have tripped over more dogs than I want to admit to. Okay, Kayla, I took my pup to doggy daycare, and I guess he almost got kicked out because he kept trying to dominate the other dogs, kept jumping on them, said not mounting, but jumping up at them. So what I would do is, it's kind of hard when you're not there. Also, when they say that your dog's trying to dominate the other dogs, that's not exactly the right term, just so you know. I won't get into all of that, but a lot of people use that term wrong. I mean, yeah, sometimes it is a rude thing, like when dogs jump up or put their, like, do a chin over, things like that. What I do in puppy class is and dogs will jump all over. Jade is one that will sometimes jump on other dogs, and it's not a dominant thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to see where I am in the social hierarchy. And you're a new dog, and so I'm going to kind of test it out. I don't let her do that. So I'll say, "Hey, Jade, and I'll take her off." So the hard thing with doggy daycares is you have to have savvy people that can give the dog a timeout. And it depends on the dog. Like, my dogs play really rough, and they do jump on each other, and they play rough. The dog that I have staying with me right now is totally fine with Jade, even though this dog is bigger than Jade. Jade jumps on her, they play, they wrestle, but it's both of their play style, and they're both fine with it. If another dog doesn't like a dog jumping up and corrects them, then your dog should learn to back away and oh, that dog doesn't like that. That's not appropriate. So I don't ever let dogs fight, but to the extent that dogs can kind of communicate on their own, that's good. So I don't know if you can have a conversation with the daycare without offending them. But basically, I will ask before I have clients who want to go to doggy daycare. I will say, okay, ask them, how many people do you have? How many staff members do you have per how many dogs? And how do you do timeouts? How do you separate dogs that are playing too rough? Things like that. So if that happens in puppy class where a dog is jumping up, if another dog growls or corrects, that's appropriate. They're just saying, hey, that's rude. That would be like somebody coming right up to your face during a pandemic and breathing on you, and you're like, hey, dude, back up. I mean, that's all a correction is for a dog. So if your dog backs up, then it's appropriate because he learned, oh, okay, that's rude. I can't do that. And then they learn. If the other dogs are really mellow and don't correct, then it's kind of up to the humans. And some dogs will play back and jump back, and then they play and everything's fine. But if a dog doesn't correct but clearly doesn't like it, then it's up to the humans or the daycare personnel to give your dog a timeout and just say, oh, sorry, we're not going to do that. You're going to go in a timeout. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, okay, when you jump on another dog, you're going to get a timeout. And then the dog learns that, okay, when I do that, I get a timeout. So that's not appropriate. I would also work on some impulse control things at home, like sit and wait. So, what video was it that I was watching that was really good? I think it was something from Karen Pryor Academy. And I'm on their email list. But I bet they have it on their website, and they were actually showing how to socialize a dog during a pandemic, and they had a fake puppy. But the trainer kept having the live dog touch, look at the other dog, touch, get a treat. And then when the dog was not pulling towards the other dog or trying to jump on it, but was hand targeting, eye contact, sitting, then the trainer said, okay, go sniff, go check it out. So it's as long as the dog was trying to pull towards the fake dog, they were using a fake puppy and a live puppy. So if the live puppy was pulling towards the fake puppy she would redirect, like, watch me, touch, sit, and then and if the live puppy would just like look at the fake puppy, then he got rewarded for that. And then as soon as he was calmer and not actively trying to like jump at it or pull towards it, then the trainer said, okay, go check it out, go sniff, and took the live puppy up and let it sniff the butt of the stuffed puppy. So I would start like trying to redirect and do some like hand targeting, watch me, wait. So if I'm working with a client whose dog is pulling towards another dog, we will do a sit and a wait, and then when they're calm, then they can go up and say hi. But they don't get to pull me over, and they don't get to like jump on another dog, because again, yeah, some dogs don't do that. So yeah, so I'm not sure that was really the answer that you wanted, because I'm going to say it depends on the doggy daycare and how dog savvy they are, and if they understand body language and, giving the dogs breaks and timeouts and things like that. So I know that there are really good doggy daycares out there, and I know there are bad ones. When I worked at the vet clinic and that doggy daycare was across the parking lot, I used to go over there and do body language workshops for the staff and teach them about body language, how dogs communicate, that it's okay for a dog to growl and it's okay for a dog to correct. It's not okay for a dog to attack another dog, but just like giving a correction is totally appropriate. So I would ask if you can watch. Say, can I just watch and see what you do, see how my dog interacts, and see how they handle it, because it may not be a good fit for your dog. You may want to find a different daycare. But if your dog is jumping up and kind of, being annoying to other dogs, then it's appropriate to say, okay, we're going to do a timeout and take your dog out for 1 to 2 minutes. So I guess it was only the first 30 minutes after he calmed down was good. But when he first sees other dogs, he jumps on them and gets super excited. Yeah, I mean, and the first part of doggy daycare, they are really excited. So maybe if they take him in on leash and have him do a sit and a wait, have him do eye contact, have him do hand targeting, and let him calm down a little bit, and then take his leash off and let him play with other dogs, that might work as well. So I would see if they would be willing to work with you. If it makes you feel any better, my very first pit bull, who was great, he was a therapy dog. So he was in libraries and rest homes and schools, and kids could fall on him and lay on him, but he got kicked out of doggy daycare because he plays rough. And some breeds just do play rougher, and I've just come to accept that about my dogs, and so they can't play with all other breeds. But some just have a play style that is rough, so I just let them play with other dogs that have kind of the same play style as mine. Okay, let me write down a couple names. We've got Julie. Julie from Georgia. I'm going to spell your last name and not try to say it. Hi, Anita. Anita, I actually... No, I have memorized now where you're from. Oh, yep, I did miss you up there. I didn't see you, but I always have problems with the scrolling with this thing. But I have you now. So, Destiny from South Carolina. I'm glad so many of you guys turned out tonight. This is awesome. I'll do a drawing in about 15 minutes. We'll do the drawing, and then if anybody wants to stay, I will answer like questions until 8. Okay, yeah, she does it when they have it. It's not when she has something. Yeah, so this is going back to the dog and the cat resource guarding. So I actually wouldn't allow the dog to do that. I would say, sorry, that belongs to the cats, that's theirs. And then I would just separate your dog. Or if the cats have something, like, I mean, I have baby gates in my house to separate, keep dogs out of the kitchen or out of certain areas. And also because I do board and train to separate dogs sometimes. Um, but I always supervise if animals have resources. So I would give your lab something to do either in a crate or outside or in a different area of the house. Give him his yak chew, bully stick, whatever. Let him be kind of like doing his own thing while the cats have their thing, if that makes sense. And you can always redirect him. Like if the cats have something and you see him going over there, teach him something else to do. Like I use a flight cue for that, like a retreat. So I'll walk a dog. I do this on leash, but I'll walk a dog up and then I'll say retreat and throw the treats behind the dog so that they learn to turn the other way. And I use really high value treats and make it more rewarding for the dog to turn and go the other way than to go this way. So if you see that the cats have something, and Destiny, if you want to email me, I'll put my email. I will send you the handout for the flight cue. So it tells you step by step how to do it. It's Tracy with an I at pupford.com. And if you email me and just say, send me the flight cue handout, I will send it to you. But you could use that that would work in that situation, like teaching the dog, okay, the cats have something. So I am going to have you go this way and it's going to be better than going after what the cats have. So you could try that, and I'm happy to send that to you. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me write down Marissa from Nebraska. We're gonna have a good drawing tonight because we have a lot of people. Oh, Kayla says my dog got this thing called dogwood and it's made from real wood. He took 2 weeks to finish. That's awesome. I'm gonna look that up. For some reason, dogs love wood chips. The dog that I have board and train with me right now, he loves to go take pieces of the firewood and chew on it. So dogs love wood. So I'm going to look into that as well because that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, Shaylin Strong from Canada. I know I've said this before, but it's on my bucket list to visit Canada. And it's on my bucket list to visit Ireland too. So, Shaylin, not too long ago, I watched a movie about that story about the teacher that went up there to teach and I can't remember where it was. It was like where the Inuit tribe lives. And he turned them all into, oh shoot, it's not hockey. It was, oh crap. Now I can't remember the sport. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, it was such a good show. I watched it twice, and it was all filmed filmed on location, and they used a lot of the locals in the movie. And it was so good. I can't. The name of the movie is The Grizzlies. But now I can't remember what they were playing. It's not polo. It's like one of those. It's like soccer, but they have the sticks and they have the ball go in the net of the stick. I can't even remember what it's called now. Anyway, beautiful up there. I would love to go visit Canada sometime. Okay, Cindy from Florida. One of these days, I'm going to have an assistant that can just do all this part for me. Oh, Cindy, you still have a happy Joey. I am. Oh, barking. Is that not a good thing? So you have you have a yappy. Not happy. I read that wrong. Yappy. Okay, so let's talk about barking for a second. Barking's a tough one because, that's how dogs communicate. And some dogs by breed, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what breed you have. Smaller breeds tend to bark more. That's why they get termed like small yappy dogs, like Chihuahuas. Small dogs just like to bark. So the best thing that I can tell you is redirect, and teach a quiet. So like if my dogs are in the yard and they're barking at the neighbor who's mowing their lawn, I will give them a chance to be quiet. I will tell them quiet. I will say, okay, thank you. I know it's just them mowing their lawn, now quiet. If they continue to bark, they come inside. Like I don't let them stay outside and bark at the lawnmower. So they come in. I also try to redirect. The first thing we always want to do is environmental management. So it depends on why Joey's barking and what he's barking at. So as an example, let's say he's looking out the window and he's barking at everybody that walks by. Remember that is reinforcing to him, and he thinks, oh, if I bark enough, when I bark, I can make people leave. So I actually restrict them from being able to look out the window or out the door. If they're out in a yard, I bring them in. I do teach a quiet, but you can also redirect, like, okay, enough barking. Here's a snuffle mat. Here's a stuffed Kong. Here's something to chew on. And you always want to kind of see, like, why are they barking? If it's demand barking, like the dog's just demanding attention, I will just kind of slough them off and walk away. Walk in another room, close the door, totally ignore them. And I know this is really, really hard because I've been dealing with this for 2 weeks with my board and train, who's finally now being quiet. But if you give in, then it's going to take longer to fix because then it worked for the dog. So it's kind of like if you, let's say you put your money in a vending machine, and 1 out of 5 times you don't get anything, but like it takes your money, but you still get reinforced. You still get candy out of it most of the time. If you never, ever got any candy out of that vending machine, you would stop putting money in. You would, that's why I don't gamble, because I always lost, and not a lot. I would play slots with a roll of nickels, and as soon as my nickels were done, I'd be done. I'm not a big gambler. But a guy that I was dating at the time, he would occasionally win. And when he would win, he'd win like $500. They'd give him like a free night. They'd give him a free dinner. And so even though he lost, he won enough that he would keep going. So if it never gets reinforced, like me, I never won. So I just stopped doing it. So if Joey doesn't ever get the attention or get reinforced for barking, he will eventually stop. But you also have to look at, like, why is he barking? Is he barking for attention? Is he barking because the UPS guy's here? Is he barking for other reasons? You kind of have to look at that and then try to change that. So when Joey's barking, try to think, okay, what's happening right before? Like, why is he barking? Is he barking because he wants something, or because he sees something, or is he bored? Or is he attention seeking? Especially if he's attention seeking, I ignore. I walk away. And then sometimes I after I walk away, go in another room, then I'll redirect and say, here, let's chew on this for a while. Let's do a snuffle mat. Let's tear apart a cereal box. Let's do this instead. So try that. If he's like barking on walks, barking at other dogs, barking at other people, then I would start to set up like training sessions where you do the distancing where you're far away and have Joey just look. And when he looks and stays calm, click treat. And for him, it might be 10 feet, it might be 100 yards. You always start at where they can just look and not react. And that's where you start. Then you're going to slowly start to decrease the distance and get closer and closer. If he starts barking, then you increase distance. So teaching him something else to do, like go to your mat and relax. Focus on me. Do a hand target. I use hand targeting quite a bit to redirect barking and biting, just because it has to be done with a closed mouth. So if this is my dog, well, this one's mouth is open, but you just want them to touch their nose to your hand. So pretend like his tongue's not hanging out. You just want him to target. And I use that to redirect biting and barking because it's done with a closed mouth. And then I reward that. So, yeah, barking is a tough one because it's how dogs communicate, but you can fix it. You just have to know why they're barking, like what their motivation is, and change that. And then, let's see, barking only indoors, driving us nuts. So that sounds like demand barking. And have you tried like just putting the dog in a crate and covering it and then totally ignoring? And sometimes you just have to like walk away, put the crate in another room. Feel free to put the dog in. I usually will turn on music or TV or radio or something, cover the crate, and leave the dog there and give you a break. If you're to the point where it's driving you nuts, then you need a break. And it's okay to put your dog in a crate, cover it, give him something to do, give him something to chew on, give him a toy, cover the crate, turn on music, and go to another part of the house or go do something else and give yourself a break. Like that is totally fine. So Shaylin says, I've been having success getting my dog to not bark and go crazy outside, but I'm still struggling indoors. We live in an apartment and he's always barking at noises and when he sees kids or dogs out our balcony window. Okay, so I just watched a webinar on this was more on like strangers coming to the door. It wasn't necessarily about barking, but it was greeting strangers, but they had a specific thing about apartments. And dogs are more likely to bark in apartments because they can hear stuff going on next door, in the hall, on other floors. So one thing that you can do is desensitize your dog to noises that they might hear. And the way that I do that is I will get apps on my phone, or I will you can tape record like noises that go on and then start with the volume down really low and play the sound and then treat your dog when the sound is going, and then when the sound stops, the treat stop. And then turn it up a little bit, turn it up. So you're desensitizing your dog to the sounds that they hear so that it no longer is novel, but they learn, oh, when I hear somebody closing a door, I get treats. And then when but they have to be quiet for it. So that's why I start on a low volume and slowly work up. If the dog starts to act alarmed or alert or starts to bark, then I back off on the volume. So I get them used to the sounds like very gradually, and as long as they're not barking, they get a treat. So it's like, oh, when I hear footsteps, I get treats when I'm quiet, and then when there's no footsteps, I get nothing. So then it's like they want to hear footsteps because if they're quiet, they get treats. And then in your case with an apartment, I would somehow block the balcony window with either blinds or drapes or that white window film that they do at Christmas that looks like snow. Because what happens is every time your dog barks at somebody out the balcony and they go by, your dog gets reinforced. Because in his mind, he's making that happen. In his mind, it's like, if I bark, I can make people leave. So it's reinforcing. And so I would block the view to the balcony for sure. And then, yes, I'm glad you're doing place. I would teach it, go to your place. And then, Shaylin, if you email me, I'll put it in here again. It's Tracy with an I at pupford.com. I will send you, lacrosse. That's it. Thank you. Yes, it's lacrosse. Okay, now I got to scroll back up and finish answering your questions. If you email me, I will send you the relaxation protocol. You can probably Google it and get it online. There's actually two. There's one by Karen Overall. She's a veterinary behaviorist. And if you just Google Karen Overall protocol for relaxation, it actually teaches the dog how to go to their place and then stay calm with increasing distractions. This is so good to do in an apartment. So at first you're going to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then eventually you're going to clap your hands, turn around, knock on the door, make noises. And as long as your dog stays calm, you reward them for that. But it's increasing. And then there's another one by Suzanne Clothier, and her last name is Clothier, and I think it's called Really Reliable Relaxation. That one I need to look up and get a copy of, but I think you could Google that one as well. And either one of those is going to teach your dog how to be calm, like in an apartment or indoors with increasing distractions and noises. So one, I would desensitize to noises. So this is one thing I do with every puppy client. I have an app on my phone, and we do vacuums, we do thunder, we do fireworks because of where we live. We do cars, we do dogs barking, and we just desensitize the dog to those sounds. But we start really soft. And as soon as I play the sound, it's treat, 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 treat. And then when the sound stops, the treats stop. And then I turn it up. And then we keep doing that. So I would do that first, desensitize to sound, and then start to use one of those protocols to teach your dog how to be calm with the distractions, and especially distractions in an apartment. And you could use this for dogs that just bark in the house for no reason too. So the other thing that you can do is when your dog is being calm in the house. So we call this Smart Times 50. And there is a handout for that. If you want to email me, Cindy, I will send you the handout for Smart Times 50. But basically what you want to do is when Joey is being calm and quiet, reward him. Oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this too, I wait for the dog to do something wrong and then try to correct it. And I've had people do this with Jade because we've been working on Jade's jumping. And so Jade will sit and they'll ignore her. And it's like, okay, she's sitting, she's being good. Please say hi to her, give her a treat, pet her. So catch Joey being quiet and reward. And then eventually he'll learn, oh, okay, when I'm barking, they walk away and ignore me. When I'm calm, I get treats, I get pet, I get rewarded, I get attention. So catch him being quiet and calm and make sure that you reward that. Do that as well. And if you want to send me or email me, I will send you the Smart Times 50 handout. ask for that, and also ask for the relaxation protocol. If I haven't sent you that already previously, I can send you that. And then I will try to get a hold of the other one. I heard about it in a webinar, but I still need to Google it and see if I can get a copy and see if it's different. But I love Suzanne Clothier's stuff, because she's all about like calm and communication with your dog and doing things force-free and fear-free and in cooperation. And I just love her whole methodology with stuff. So I'll see if I can get a hold of that. But you can email me for the other stuff that I do have if you want. Okay, now I need to scroll. Maybe. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. So yeah, Cindy and Shaylin, we should start a support group for indoor barking dogs. I actually have a Facebook page for reactive dogs. That's kind of like a support group. Maybe I should start one for barking dogs. Okay. I'm going to answer one more, and then we'll do a drawing. And then if other people have questions, I'm happy to stay on for another half hour. So Destiny asks, how do we stop our lab from jumping on us and biting our clothes? I turn and ignore her until she sits, but I have little sisters and she can drag them around. So that's a good question. And you're doing the right thing to turn your back and ignore her. So what I will do, especially with a dog that's jumping and biting clothes, like I will turn my back, but then I will turn around and ask the dog to sit. So I don't wait until they sit. I ask them to sit. And then I will reward them for sitting. And then if they start to jump, and the other thing I will tell you is the 3-bite strike rule that I've talked about. For dogs that are really bad about jumping and biting, they get 3 strikes. And the first strike, I will turn my back, I'll ask them to sit, I'll reward them, and then redirect them to a toy and say, you can't chew on me, you can't bite my clothes, but here's a toy. And then if they go back to biting, and if the dog's biting your little sisters, you can do the same thing. It's strike 2. If the dog goes back to biting, then it's like you calmly pick the dog up with a toy, put him in a crate, put her in a crate, and for 1 to 2 minutes, and let her decompress. And then let her out. If she goes back to biting a 3rd time, dragging your little sisters around, then it's calmly pick her up, put her in a crate with a toy, cover the crate, and she gets a long time out. And that's to give you a break, your sisters a break. The other thing, I will often teach kids what to do with dogs that jump, because little kids tend to like run, they squeal, they have high squeaky voices, they flail their arms, and dogs think they're playing. And it can kind of amp dogs up. A high-pitched bark to a dog is, hey, let's go play. So with little kids that are squealing, sometimes the dog thinks, oh, they want to play, so I'm going to jump and I'm going to bite. So I will teach kids to like be an oak tree. I say, stand really still, be an oak tree, fold in your branches, and look up at the sky and hold really still. And then, and depending on the age of your sisters, like the dog's eventually going to get tired or bored because they're not interacting with her. But if your sisters do that, then you can intervene and just say, hey, you can't chew on the sisters, but here's your toy, or you're going to go in a crate with a toy, or you're going to, but yes, being consistent with turning your back, asking the dog to sit. So I went to a client's house a couple of weeks ago, and he had a 4-month-old little blue-nosed pit bull that was the worst jumper biter I've ever had. Like, he was jumping up and grabbing my clothes, grabbing skin. It was awful. So finally, and I kept turning my back, asking the dog to sit, and then he'd go back at it. And so I finally said, do you have a toy that we can give your puppy. And we had to redirect to a toy. And then I taught hand targeting as a replacement behavior to biting. He worked on that for a week. I went back a week later, and the dog was so much better. Like, he would sit, he didn't jump, he didn't bite. It was amazing. Like, this was the worst I had ever seen a puppy as far as jumping and biting at clothes. So just having the owner be consistent about turning. And I also told the owner, I said, if your dog is jumping and biting at people's clothes, you need to step in and say, hey, sit. And then tell people, okay, you can interact with the dog when they're sitting. And then redirect the biting or give a timeout for a bite. There were a few times when we actually did pick the dog up, put the dog in a crate, and gave him a timeout. So you can try that. So Shaylin, if I walk up to him while he's barking, he runs away. So it sounds like it's kind of a play. It's attention seeking, but he wants you to chase him. If he runs away, I would just turn around and go the other way and just totally ignore him. Kayla, she was giving him timeouts with Park It. Yeah, and that can work, but it depends on, so I'm envisioning like doggy daycare, and did you have a dog leash? So to me, park is when a dog's on a leash and I step on the leash and put the dog in park. So I can talk to somebody without the dog like jumping, or like that's just where they sit and be calm. Sometimes that can be more frustrating for a dog if they're on a leash and they want to go and play, but they can't. That can like kind of amp them up more. I would almost rather them do a timeout, like away from the dogs in a crate to chill for 1 to 2 minutes and then let the dog back out. So it depends on how they're doing park. Their park, it might be different than mine. When I have puppy class, I actually have the owners take the puppy all the way out of the room so that they're not even around, and the dog chills for 1 minute and then they get to come back in. So, yeah, you might try that as well. And I would keep working on impulse control. I know Pupford has the 21 impulse control games, so that might be really worthwhile. And then also maybe, talking to the staff and say, could you ask him to give you eye contact, ask him to touch, redirect him, and then when he's calm, then let him go back and engage with the other dogs. Okay. Kayla, you are very welcome. This is my favorite thing to do every week. I love this. Okay, let's do a drawing, and then if there's more questions, I will stay on for another half hour and answer more questions. So let me mix all these up, and okay. Tonight's winner is Veronica Swallow from Montana. So congratulations, Veronica. And if you will email hello, I'm putting it in the thing, hello@pupford.com, and just let them know that you are the winner tonight. Then let them know what kind of treats you want. They will send you the treats. I will email them as well and let them know that you're the winner, and they will send you a free bag of training treats. So yeah, congratulations. Oh, you guys like my idea about a barking group? Awesome. Maybe I'll start one and you guys can just join my Facebook group. Yeah, it was lacrosse. That's exactly. If you haven't watched that movie, it was so good. I wanted my little cousin who's 11, I wanted him to watch it, but it does have some language in it that's not appropriate for an 11-year-old. So I didn't have him watch it, but that was such a good movie. And it's a true story. So, and I was reading some stuff about it. Sorry, I'm getting off. This isn't about dog training. But it was such a good story. And some of the locals had never acted before, but they did use as many locals as they could. And they did send them to like workshops on how to act and stuff. But I thought they did amazing. It was really good. But I know it was like up north Canada somewhere. Okay. So Catherine got a dogwood toy, but he's not interested in it. Yeah, I'll have to look those up. I've never heard of them. I don't know if they come in different sizes. Okay, Julie, how do I get Dakota to stop peeing on my deck? And now it's winter here in New York where it's 40 and below it freezes. She will usually do it in front of the door, but she has to do something else. She will go on the grass. Yes, you probably need to go out with her again and show her where to go, especially now that the weather's changed. Like whenever I rescue a new dog, most of my dogs that I rescue come from the Navajo reservation, or the last 3 dogs I've adopted have, and so they are used to desert and no snow. So when they come home with me for the first time, they see snow and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And where do I go to the bathroom? So I actually go out with them and give them the go potty cue. And then I reward them for them going potty. So, yeah, I would go out with her a few times and show her where to go and use the go potty, cue, and then reward her for that until she figures out like where you want her to go. Are you using like if it's on a deck, are you using like the fake grass, the pea patches? Because that's usually what I have clients that have to, do decks and patios and stuff like that. That's usually what they use. And there is a spray that you can spray on the fake grass, and I don't know what it is, but it attracts the dog to go potty there. And it works. I had a pea patch in my house one time for a puppy board and train. And the owners were older. They were at an assisted living. And so they asked me to train their dog on this patch. And so I got the spray, and the puppy never missed. Like he just knew to go over there and go on the patch. So, yeah, try that. You could probably Google potty patch spray and try that. But yeah, for the first little bit, I would go out with her and reward her, say good potty, because really you're rewarding the dog for going where you want them to go. The act of being able to relieve themselves is the reinforcer. So we are rewarding them for choosing to go in a certain spot, if that makes sense. I will try to find a good, we did the barking course a while ago with Pupford. You could always check that out, but I think everything that's on there, I pretty much told you. But I'll see if I can find some other resources for you guys as well. Anita, it was called The Grizzlies, and it's about a lacrosse team. True story. It was so good. Catherine, do you use 3 strike rules for digging behaviors? Duke likes to try to dig through the couch corners, and I recently got him a bath mat as a bed, and he wants to dig through it. He likes to lie on seats. You could use the 3 strike rule for digging. What I usually try to do is, because that's like a natural behavior for some dogs, is I try to give them a place to dig. So if you have a yard, I I have a swimming pool for the summertime, and I recently moved it so it's back closer to where I have water, but there's a dead spot. Sometimes dogs like to dig in the dirt because it helps them thermoregulate. So when it's really cold, they will dig and lay in the dirt because it helps them stay warm. And the opposite is in the summer. They'll dig to lay down because it's cool. So it's normal for them to dig. So I will give my dogs a spot where they are allowed to dig. If I see them digging in another spot, I will interrupt and say, hey, you can't dig there. And then I'll take them over here. You can dig here and let them dig in that spot. So you can even make like a sandbox type thing that you have for kids and let your dog dig there. And that's their designated digging spot. So I will sometimes hide toys or treats or things in that digging spot. Like I'll bury them so that they dig for them, so that they know that that's where they are allowed to dig. And if you live in a place where you don't have a yard, you can also use like the smaller kiddie pools, and you can fill it with the big rubber balls. And dogs love to jump in there and dig through it. And again, you can hide toys in there. You can hide treats, kibble, and let that be the designated, like, this is where you dig. Like, this is where you're allowed to dig. And if you hide stuff in there that they can search for and dig for and find, then it's very rewarding. Some dogs will dig because they're bored. Some dig because it's their breed. And again, some do it to regulate their temperature. So make sure that Duke is getting enough mental enrichment. So nose work, snuffle mat, having a place for him to dig and dig up toys and treats and other things is going to be mentally enriching too. And it's going to let him get his digging behavior out. So try to do that. And probably a good idea not to get him in bed yet, especially if he was going to chew it up or he wants to dig through it. Then, yeah, I would wait on the bed. But try that. Try the pool. Try the, and I know they have the smaller kiddie pools that wouldn't be like too big for an apartment. We had one of those at the rescue, and we just filled it with all these colorful rubber balls, and the dogs love to jump in there and dig through it and play. Okay, Shaylin, I was transitioning from pee pad to fake grass on balcony, and I had him pee on pad, then rubbed pee on the patch, and he went immediately. I rewarded a bunch as soon as he did it. Perfect, good job. Yeah, you could do that too. I have a welcome mat. It is a texture of a mat, but I moved further so she wouldn't do it anymore. Oh, but it backfired. Yeah, don't you love when that happens? I live in an apartment. There are grassy areas nearby. So yeah, if you live in an apartment, you could actually use the pea patch because it looks like grass, feels like grass. And then it's easier to transition. So like if it's in the middle of the night and you don't want to go outside, have the dog go on the pea patch. But then during the day or in the morning, take the dog out and have them go on the grassy area, and then reward them for always going on grass. I honestly wish I would have trained my dogs to go on a pea patch. I never had because I've always had a yard. But one time my dog Maddie flew to Virginia with me, and I mean that poor girl had held it for so long. And there was a designated pee area, and I thought it was an outside grassy area. Well, it was a little, okay, Maddie's a 70-pound pit bull, okay, so she's big. It was a little patch, no bigger than the size of my computer case. Like, it was that big. And she had never gone on a pee patch before. So I'm trying to, like, she couldn't even sniff and walk around. She wouldn't go on it because she's like, what is this? And I can't walk and I can't sniff and I can't do anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to like go through, we didn't have time to like go through security again. It was a nightmare. So, yeah, I'm kind of all for potty patches now because it's the closest thing to like what real grass is. Oh good, you got your dog a snuffle mat and he loves it. So when I do virtual stuff and I get the snuffle mat out to show them what it is, my dogs go crazy because they're like, oh my gosh, I love that thing. And yeah, I think it's awesome and it's so enriching for them. They love it. Okay, I don't see any more questions. I'm going to try to scroll up one more time and just make sure I got everybody's question. Whoops, did something wrong. Yep, I think, oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's it. Oh, Emily, yes, I did the drawing. Hey, I'm always like live until 7:30 or 8. Yes, Veronica Swallow from Montana was our lucky winner for tonight. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll be back next week, same time, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. I'll do the drawing about 7:30, and happy to stay on till 8 to answer your questions. And if you want any of the handouts that I talked about, please email me, Tracy with an I at pupford.com, and I'm happy to send you the handouts that I had that talked about like relaxation, look at that, flight cue, things like that. I'm happy to send them to you. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.